Mayor Suarez, thank you for being here with
Thanks
me
for
in New
having me.
Hampshire. I want to start off by talking about the Maui wildfires. Now, over 100 people have been killed. A lot of experts are attributing the disaster to climate change, which is something that you're for changing,
Yeah.
that you're for combating. What would you say to your Republican opponents who do not view climate change as a threat?
Look, I don't look at people as opponents or not. I look at it as our environment is the economy. You can't separate the environment from the economy, right? I think there's a false dichotomy, a false choice. You have to pick one or the other. And I think they're intertwined. The devastation in Maui affects not only people in that island, but it affects the entire country. Because now we have to provide aid to that city. And so, what I've learned in my time in resiliency efforts is the more money we spend prophylactically and the more that we spend trying to deal with this issue and not put our head in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist, the better off we are and the less money that we have to spend after the fact.
What would you do as president to combat the wildfires?
Well, I think just generally speaking, I think what you have to do is as a mayor, I could tell you that we've had to deal with natural disasters generally, and they're um, you know they're countrywide, right? It's not and they're different, right? In my city, it's hurricanes. In other cities, it's earthquakes. In other places, it's wildfires. And I think first you have to make the city resilient, and if you spend money on the front end to make the cities resilient, you save a ton of money on the back end in some of these disasters.
Former President Trump has been indicted for a fourth time in
Yeah.
Fulton County, Georgia, relating to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. What's your response? What do you think?
Well, my response is, the American people are going to decide whether he is someone that they want to continue to support or not. If you heard my presentation today, I started with a threshold question of, do we want to see a repeat of the 2020 election? If the answer to that is yes, that's where we're heading right now. If the answer to that is no, then you've got to choose someone else. And so I think for people, what I'm offering them is a choice. I'm offering them a choice of a dynamic, energetic candidate with a profile that can grow the party and with a personality and a platform that is pro-prosperity.
Because you're different. Did not vote for former President Trump in 2016 and 2020. You said
Correct.
you'd support him in 24, but it doesn't sound like
Well, I'm
you
running
really
for.
are
I'm running.
angry about these indictments.
Well, I'm running for president, so I'm focused on myself and articulating a plan and a vision for the prosperity of this country, and that's separate and apart from the legal problems of the current president and the former president, etc. I do think that there's a perception among Republicans, and I can tell you this unequivocally, that these prosecutions are political, and that this is the kind of stuff that shouldn't be happening in our country. That in our country, that in third world countries, this is the kind of stuff that happens, not in a country like ours.
Now, you were in Iowa speaking with Governor Reynolds last week,
I
and
was.
you said that the kryptonite of democracy
Division.
is division,
That's
correct?
right.
As you know, the country's deeply divided.
Yes.
What would you do as president to unite the country?
I think it's a few things. So first is my track record. I was elected by 85% and reelected by 80%. So I've demonstrated an ability to unify a diverse, large metropolitan area. The second thing is we have to return to civility. We need to have civil discourses. Even when we disagree with each other, it has to be civilly. And the third thing is, being a mayor, you try to solve problems. You're not focused on just blaming somebody else. I think this culture of blame needs to stop, and we need to replace it with a culture of problem solving.
Now, some of your opponents have said that as mayor, you're not qualified to be president. You don't oversee the budget. You can't.
I do oversee the budget. I present the budget for approval, just like the president presents the budget for approval to Congress.
Many people have said, though, that you don't
Yeah,
have the same level of
course.
power as other mayors. How do you respond to that criticism?
I think that a mayor is uniquely qualified, and as mayor, I'm uniquely qualified. I had to confront, and I said this to the audience, the shocking call that one of my officers was pinned against a car and lost a part of her limb. Those are the kinds of calls that we get as mayor. We're on the front lines dealing with the opioid crisis, dealing with homelessness, dealing with crime. Governors don't have to do that. Senators don't have to do that. Congressmen and women don't have to do that. We're dealing with the everyday problems that people care about that affect their quality of life. No person is more qualified to be the president than a mayor who deals with people's everyday problems.
And one last thing here. If elected president, what's the first thing you do?
Wow, so many things. But first thing I'm going to do is come back to New Hampshire and thank the people of New Hampshire for giving me an opportunity to be on the debate stage and beginning this conversation with America, which is coherent, and focus on a positive future. But I want to balance the budget. I want to have Abraham Accords, and I want to start the process of restoring America's confidence in its government.